Where do you get your protein? We all know that. Plants. We need to have one question and one answer. So the main question that people should walk away today is like, is it pro-inflammatory or anti-inflammatory? Remember, you can get all your protein from plants, vegetable, grains, legume, right? But is it pro-inflammatory or anti-inflammatory? So if anybody has this argument or discussion or heated discussion, like, well, you need to eat this, I could just ask them and tell them, is it pro-inflammatory, anti-inflammatory, and just drop the mic and leave. That's all you need to know, right? So this is the main slide I want people to get today, right? Pro-inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. So animal protein is pro-inflammatory, plant protein is anti-inflammatory. Animal protein increases inflammation, it has cholesterol, little to no antioxidants, it has no phytonutrients, no fiber, and triggers heterocyclic amines, which are cancer-causing particles when you grill it. Okay? And plants are just the opposite. They lower inflammation, they have no cholesterol, yay. They're high in antioxidants, super high in phytonutrients, because they're plants. They have fiber, which you need, and there's no heterocyclic amines when you grill them. All right, so let me go into this in a little bit of detail. So inflammation real quick. We look at the pathway here. This is the arachidonic acid pathway. Arachidonic acid is what is triggered from eating higher amounts of animal protein. Also got to be careful of some of the refined vegetable oils. So too much French fries and fried food is not also good for you. Right? So the vegans who just eat French fries all day, they're still going to get inflammation as well. Right? So we want to cut down on eating too much excess oil. It's okay to eat the actual soy, the actual seeds, the actual nuts, but we want to lower some of the amounts of the refined products. But when people take ibuprofen, Motrin, Advil, those kind of drugs that are lowering their inflammation, and we're trying to lower these pathways here. But if you don't put it in your mouth, you don't need to take those products. Okay? Now, cholesterol. A lot of doctors will be here this week talking about cholesterol, so I won't spend too much time. Your body does produce cholesterol. We do need some. We can't have zero, but you don't want to have too much. Too much cholesterol that comes from the food, again, with the inflammation, causes cardiovascular disease. Remember, 3 people every minute will have a heart attack in the United States. 3 people. Okay? 3 jumbo jets of people die every day in America due to heart disease. There's no war on heart disease. Everybody's worried about terrorism. I'm not worried about terrorism. I'm worried about what my patients are going to eat at their next meal. Because that's what they're going to die from more likely than not. Okay, we can reverse heart disease. There'll be doctors here later on that will talk about reversing, so I won't get in there. But you can actually reverse heart disease clinically in clinical cardiology, even by angiogram. My book will cover examples of patients that we're being able to take off of the heart transplant list, just moving to a whole foods plant-based diet. And we can reverse all vessels, even documented on angiogram. Real quick, this is another slide that's in my book. You can see that everything that's in yellow is a plant, everything that's in white is an animal protein. You'll never be protein deficient. There's not a protein deficient diagnosis in America. Now there's empty calories, there's low phytonutrients and fiber and antioxidants in our diet, so we're nutrient deficient. But there's no deficiency in protein. What you'll see is that cholesterol only comes from animal proteins there in the white, and plants don't have them, and fiber only is found in plants' proteins. So when, I'll be frank, before I went plant-based, I'd finish my call at the hospital, I'd go to the local breakfast place, I'd have 2 eggs, 2 bacon, 2 sausage, 2 ham, and a piece of white toast with coffee with cream, standard Grand Slam, right? And if you look and you calculate, just 2 eggs have 423 milligrams of cholesterol. That's 7 times more than just a 4-ounce piece of steak. And so when you eat all these things combined, if I go to these breakfast places, I see people eat this and then take their Lipitor and take their diabetes medicine and their blood pressure medicine and then their laxative or their stool softener. So this is something that you have to really pay attention to. This is what we're eating. Phytonutrients and antioxidants. So antioxidants come from plants predominantly. Very little found in animal protein, particularly since 97% of animal protein is factory farmed. Right? So this is when people take multivitamins, it's because they're not getting it from the food. And also phytonutrients, phyto meaning plant, these are the most important phytonutrients because these are the things that help prevent, reverse, and treat disease. Now think of this like lycopene, beta-carotene, vitamin C, flavonoids, folate, indoles, allicins, anthocyanins, resveratrol, green tea, curcumin. All these things come from plants. In fact, all the products that you see out there are from foods that are coming from plants. There's no beef pill, there's no chicken pill, there's no pork pill, there's no egg pill that your doctor will ever prescribe to prevent, reverse, or treat a disease. But for some reason, everything's, I need to eat this, but they're like, well, why aren't we giving that to you to help your disease? We're telling you to restrict those things. And even the fish is the fatty acid of the fish oil. It's not even fish protein. And lastly, we want to talk about fiber. Fiber is important because fiber protects the gut. Fiber helps propel the stool. It helps feed your microbiome. 80% of your immune system is in your microbiome. So you want to feed that microbiome. And what it does is it removes toxins, okay? So detoxification is just having 1 to 3 well-formed bowel movements a day. Don't do colonics, don't do coffee enemas, don't have to do some kind of green smoothie program. No, you just need to be eating a whole food plant-based diet. Now, why is that? Because fiber, then all the chemicals that we consume, good or bad, goes through the liver, it binds to fiber, fiber then helps it excrete the body. If you don't have about 40 grams a day, that's the goal that we're trying to get to in the United States. The average person eats 7 to 12 right now. So the tool is, and the word of advice is, you go up by 5 grams a week to whatever you are, wherever you are, to get to that 40 grams. Okay? If you can eat more, better, but just try to get to 40 grams. So if you're at 10, then go up by 5 grams a week. Eat another vegetable or fruit every day. I'll get you there over time. Don't just jump from here to here. People around you won't like you. So it's important because when we don't have that bowel movement, then it's called enterohepatic recirculation. It's like a recycling. So all these hormones, xenoestrogens, and toxins are going round and round. And from the colon, it just recycles into the body and goes around. So then we see this rise of inflammatory conditions like irritable bowel syndrome and colitis issues and colon polyps and then the risk of colon cancer. Remember, colon cancer is number 2 in both men and women. So breast, number 1 in females, prostate, number 1 in men. And then both of you will get a risk of having colon cancer if you eat the standard American diet. Now, recently I was at a conference last year, and they were showing data from Africa where in rural Africa, which they eat very little processed food, there's lack of access, they eat tons of fiber because all the food is just like whole foods, okay? And the amount of fiber is actually higher than what we were even trying to get as a guideline, like 60 grams or higher. Wow, that's really, really crazy, but they do that because that's the food that they eat. There's virtually no colon cancer in that part of Africa. Less than 1 person in 100,000 has colon cancer. They don't even know how to diagnose it because it's so rare. In fact, they have a higher chance of getting eaten by a lion than getting colon cancer. And yet here in America, it's number 2 cause of cancer death in America. Right? So when people say, we have to think of fiber, fiber is super important. Fiber only comes from plants. It doesn't come from mothers or faces. Saturated fats, you want to avoid saturated fats from animal products. You want to have a little bit of healthy fats, but not too much, especially in the oil form because that's still a highly refined product. So less oils, but eat them from the food, like the seeds and nuts and some of the avocados. Again, you want to be eating complex carbohydrates, not simple carbohydrates. Now, everybody thinks carbs are bad, but it's the type of carbohydrate that you're eating. And we should be eating the complex. If anybody says anything that you shouldn't be eating beans or legumes or lectins, they need to go back to school. Simple as that, right? Some of these people, I think, are doing a great disservice and creating a lot of harm. And eventually they'll probably be pulled off the market or held liable for that bad information. This is what your plate should be like. Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine always puts this out. So it's a little bit of fruits, grains, legumes, and vegetables, and water, predominantly, avoiding the dairy and avoiding the soda. So when you see a picture like this and someone comes up to you and says, well, where do you get your protein? I say, well, where do you get your anti-inflammatory protein? Where do you get your phytonutrients? Where do you get your antioxidants? And where do you get your fiber? And then I drop my mic and then I go.